What's up, everybody? It's your boy, King Truth, coming back at you once again. So here's what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to play Michelle Obama's speech. I'm going to go through it. I watched it. I did not rewatch it and go through and take notes and stuff, but there's some things that I definitely wanted to point out to everybody, and that I just want to see, first of all, I think a lot of what she said was dishonest. We can fact check her, things like that. Probably take the next 30 minutes, something like that. I'm going to try to stay on point today as far as timing is concerned. And we're going to go through some of this. So let me go ahead and bring her on in here. Here we go. Come on, Michelle. Get up in here. Like a bike with no seat. All right, here we go.
Believe me, I get that.
First of all, just right off break, I don't think it's fair to, people make some pretty personal jokes about her, but gosh damn, look at them shoulders. She makes me want to get in the gym. All right, here we go.
But I am here tonight because I love this country with all my heart. And it pains me to see so many people hurting. I've met so many of you. I've heard your stories, and through you, I have seen this country's promise. And thanks to so many who came before me, thanks to their toil and sweat and blood, I've been able to live that promise myself. That's the story of America. All those folks who sacrificed and overcame so much in their own times because they wanted something more, something better for their kids. There's a lot of beauty in that story. There's a lot of pain in it too. A lot of struggle and injustice and work left to do. And who we choose as our president in this election will determine whether or not we honor that struggle.
Okay, pause. So see, of course, this is politics, so they do that. But I know a lot of people, society loves Michelle Obama. I'm probably going to get riffed. Luckily for me, I have about one fan. So it doesn't really matter for me. But people love Michelle. This is like me talking about Jesus Christ right here, okay? Because people love Michelle Obama. But when I was listening to this speech, I really thought so much of it was phony that I just thought, someone that tries to be above reproach, and then her thing here is if we don't change things, you're trying to say all the things that you said before, where people go through certain things, and that's what's great about this country. It is what's great about this country. Injustices, nobody's in favor of injustices. No sane individual is in favor of injustices. But then you hit it like if your guy doesn't win, then it's just trampled. Let's go ahead.
And chip away at that injustice and keep alive the very possibility of finishing that work.
Right. We would never finish eradicating racism if we don't elect the guy that's actually made real racist comments over and over and over again, where he judges people solely on the color of their skin. Okay.
I am one of a handful of people living today who have seen firsthand the immense weight and awesome power of the presidency. And let me once again tell you this: the job is hard. It requires clear-headed judgment, a mastery of complex and competing issues, a devotion to facts and history, a moral compass, and an ability to listen, and an
ability to listen. Here's the thing, and this is so politics 101, okay? Everybody wants other people to listen, and they want to listen, but they only want to listen to what their side has to say. I don't remember Barack Obama passing a single piece of legislation that promoted liberty. Not a single piece of legislation that promoted individual rights. Okay. Yes, he did say he did certain things for certain bases of his party for certain people that he wanted to impress. I mean, when you look at the Obamacare, he lied to us. He lied to us. He never came out. He said we could keep our own doctors. He said that we wouldn't lose our coverage. And then when that happened, he also said it would cost a fee of nothing. There would be no charge if you didn't do it. If you wanted to keep your own, you could keep your own. And he said this stuff. And when he knew it wasn't true, he never came out and apologized. And so people like myself, and again, I understand I'm an anecdotal situation, but this is me. I had to end up paying $700 a month for a fee for an entire year, even though I had insurance for the first half of the year. And it's just bogus. I mean, he lied. And then if he didn't lie, he made a mistake, and he certainly never came back, which is exactly the same thing that she's talking about here. Like, you got to be honest. He wasn't honest with us. And so, he wasn't promoting freedom when, Obama did some good things, and anybody who is not biased is going to be able to say good things he did. He took out Osama bin Laden. That's good. I think he did more for homosexual marriage rights, right? Giving those people some freedoms there. But he also really pushed, and I guess this is freedom for some people, but not freedom for the babies in the womb. He really pushed a lot of, we were having government-funded abortions. That's not freedom to me if it's my tax money, and it's not me who made the baby. So putting a bunch of people on welfare, it was crazy. As jobs were increasing, more people were getting on it. More jobs were increasing. He did a decent job with jobs. It took a long time, but at the whole time, people just kept getting on food stamps. It just didn't make any sense.
Abiding belief that each of the 330 million lives in this country has meaning and worth.
So here she goes. She says all 330 million have meaning and worth. Well, then how come so many people felt disenfranchised during Obama's last 4 years that Republicans won the nominations? Because they didn't feel like they mattered. If you didn't think that global warming has the same effect other people think, you don't matter. If you don't think if you don't think that masks work, you don't matter. If you like Donald Trump, you're a racist. If you're a Republican, you're wrong and terrible. Like, that divides the country. I would speak out on some of the policy that I didn't like with Obama, and I would say when he did good things. There was nowhere near the vitriol that comes from, if I wear a Donald Trump hat, I'm going to get yelled at. You can wear an Obama hat all day long. Like, it's just, the amount of vitriol is not the same. And so you can't act like you care about all the people when you only seem to care about people that agree the same way that you do.
A president's words have the power to move markets. They can start wars or broker peace.
Which is exactly what Donald Trump has done. He's brokered peace over and over and over again. It's one of the reasons we're not in the endless wars the same way we were before. And Obama did some of that, but he did it by capitulation, which meant that we ended up having to pay way more money to foreign governments. That is not the way. Trump has done it through strength, but that's because they didn't put money into the military. But
they can summon our better angels or awaken our worst instincts. You simply cannot fake your way through this job. As I've said before, being president doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are.
Wrong. It's not a matter of revealing who you are. You are who you are. Everyone knew who Donald Trump was, for good or bad. Was he a womanizer? Yes. Is that a good thing? No. Was he someone that's always using hyperbole? Yes. He's somebody that we knew him. So it's not a matter of it's revealing who you are. He's been the same guy always. And some people don't like that, and that's fine. But he hasn't switched once he became president. all of a sudden he was revealed for somebody that he was. Like, nobody here, if you voted for Trump and you didn't know what you were getting, now people can get mad at that. And they go, well, why? And a lot of people voted him for him just because he was not an establishment guy. And he's still not an establishment guy. So, I mean, he's been very consistent. He promised all these things when he ran, and most of them he's done. Now, you might not like them, but most of the things he said he did. Get out of the TPP. He did it. Redo the UCM or USMCA. He did it, which meant he had to end NAFTA. He ended NAFTA. He said he was going to put the capital of Jerusalem, the capital of Israel in Jerusalem. He did it. He said he was going to put the new embassy there. He did it. He said he was going to build a wall. He's been doing it. He said he was going to, focus on immigration and being America first. He's done that. So he's continually said he was going to replace and repair or replace and remove and replace Obamacare. Well, he did eliminate the individual mandate, which was the biggest issue, the constitutional issue that Republicans had with it. So a lot of things he's done. He's tried to hold China to task. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of things that he's done that he said he was going to do. He's only been president for 3 years. Obama was president for 8 years, and pretty much all he did was put Obamacare in. He started to withdraw some troops, but then it got messed up. He created the whole thing that ISIS ended up growing from. So he does not have a long checklist of things that he did. Now, he came into a terrible economy. I don't deny that. Bush sucked. Okay? I think most people understand that Bush sucked.
Well, a presidential election can reveal who we are too. And 4 years ago, too many people chose to believe that their votes didn't matter. Maybe they were fed up. Maybe they thought the outcome wouldn't be close. Maybe the barriers felt too steep, whatever the reason. In the end, those choices sent someone to the Oval Office who lost the national popular vote by nearly 3 million votes. In one of the states that determined the outcome, the winning margin averaged out to just 2 votes in hand with scientists to help prevent an Ebola outbreak from becoming a...
Okay, she's about to make a false equivalency. Ebola is pretty much nothing like COVID. Ebola has to be transmitted through basically sex. So it's more like HIV than it is Corona. So, I mean, I understand what she's trying to do. She's trying to get bonus points for her party. Okay. I mean, I thought she brought up actually a good point about people staying home because they feel one way or the other. People should get out and vote. People should get out and vote.
A global pandemic. 4 years later, the state of this nation is very different. More than 150,000 people have died, and our economy is in shambles because of a virus that this president downplayed for too long.
Did he downplay it for too long? Or did the Democrats call him racist when he stopped travel in from Europe? Did he downplay it when he said that this is something we really need to pay attention to? And Nancy Pelosi was in Chinatown saying, spend your money, when Bill de Blasio was in downtown New York telling people, you have nothing to fear. This is a fear-mongering president. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to have prominent members of the Democrat Party saying it's no big deal. And when Trump says, hey, this is something we should pay attention to, and he starts, I mean, clearly he didn't stop travel from Europe because he thought it was nothing. Does that even make sense? Like, who is watching this and believes this? And the sad part is some people do believe this because they don't recognize that that's a lie that she just told. That is a complete and utter lie. Now, does he downplay it? Yes, because actually, if you reverse back to what she said earlier, she said that your words have meaning, and it does. And so Trump is trying to always give a positive spin to it. People can disagree whether he should or not, but that helps. Every time he does that, it boosts the economy in a small way because it boosts markets, which means your 401ks, your TSPs, your CSRS, all those types of things increase a little when that occurs. And the reason the economy is in shambles is because so many governors decided to shut down. I've already done videos on this. when you shut down, it just made more cases. And so as you shut down with more cases, you shut down the economy. Like, of course the economy is going to get worse. Come on now.
It has left millions of people jobless. Too many have lost their health care. Too many are struggling to take care of basic necessities like food and rent.
Yet the Democrat Party let Congress all leave when they were asking for stimulus money. So it's so funny how they want to get struggling people to remember they're struggling. They're struggling because Donald Trump, but there's money on the table. And they said if they can't get $2 trillion, then they're not doing anything. Remember that.
Too many communities have been left in the lurch to grapple with whether and how to open our schools safely.
There's nothing to grapple with. At this point, and yes, it's nerve-wracking because kids matter a lot and we don't know all the numbers. But let me ask you guys all this. Who do you think was doing better at social distancing? Adults, 35 to 45 years old, or kids who literally could leave the house and go hang out with a bunch of other people? Okay? The kids were running around a lot more than adults were. I mean, you were only going to keep your kids in the house for so long. And kids tend to have a lot more friends than we do as adults. So they're being around a lot more people than we are. Especially, now maybe if you don't live in the Obama's home where kids don't really play with each other because your houses are huge and so you don't have neighborhoods like I grew up in. But if you're in townhouses or row houses or dwelling units with multiple, apartments inside, these people, the kids are all together. So the kids have not been getting it, not on any kind of rate like old people, right? They haven't been dying from it at rates way less than the flu and pneumonia. So kids should be in school. Doesn't take rocket science. This is them fear-mongering. Roll it.
Internationally, we've turned our back, not just on agreements forged by my husband, but on alliances championed by presidents like Reagan and Eisenhower. And here at home, as George...
She talked about ending deals like the Iran deal. Deal was an atrocity. Go ahead.
Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a never-ending list of innocent people of color continue to be murdered, stating the simple...
Okay, first of all, look, more white people were killed by police. And based on interactions, more white people were harassed by police. More white people have been murdered by police per interaction. So it's not just that there's more whites than blacks. So yes, George Floyd should not have been killed. That should not have happened. Everybody agrees with that. That has nothing to do with the president. Actually, deaths of people had gone down. If you go back and look at it, the deaths of people was higher from police murders, and we never heard about it. Did you ever hear about police brutality, blacks being murdered unarmed, where it made a huge story? I mean, I believe Freddie Gray might have been during that, but they just, again, that's a black community with black police officers, a black police chief, a black mayor. I mean, at some point, you've got to look the leadership in the eye and say, hey, these Democrat communities are doing terrible with this stuff, right? It's not, and these things, there's been no root in racism there. 3 of the 4 guys that held George Floyd down were not white. It was two Korean guys or 2 Asian guys and a Hispanic guy. I mean, that all get called a person of color when Democrats want their vote. When Democrats want your vote, man, if you have the little bit of tan skin in you, you are a person of color, okay? But then if you kill somebody and you're not full dark-skinned black, then you're a white racist police officer. I mean, come on, man. We got to just keep it 100, Michelle. And it stinks because I have a lot of respect for you. And I think that this is crap. It really is.
The fact that a Black Life Matters is still met with derision from the nation's highest office.
It's not that a Black Life Matters that we're debating. It is the organization Black Lives Matter. If you ask the president, do Black Lives Matter? Then he's going to say yes. But if you ask him, does he support Black Lives Matter, which is an organization, then of course he's going to say no, because they joined up with Antifa and they're burning down buildings and they're still doing it. I mean, we have to be honest. Like, how can you? I just lost so much respect for Michelle after watching this. It's just so frustrating, because I thought she was going to at least be honest. And this is not honest. This is dishonest. Okay. Now, maybe she feels this way, but she should know better. First of all, her husband was president for 8 years. 8 years. And now she's going to go on here and tell us how somebody else is going to make it better. This country didn't regress in the last 4 years. This is media propaganda. Black people's lives, of course they matter. They do matter. All lives can't matter till Black lives matter. Black lives do matter. Killing people is never okay. Certainly not for the color of their skin, even though we don't have any evidence of that in the George Floyd case. Tony Timpa is a white guy, was held down 5 minutes longer. None of the police officers were charged with anything. They're still walking the beat today. So it happens. Police brutality is bad. And when I say it happens, it doesn't mean it's okay. It's not okay. So police brutality needs to be addressed, and it should be. But Black lives do matter. This whole idea that Black lives don't matter is either something that somebody is telling them, or the way they feel down in their gut because of these preconceived notions. But I mean, I'm around people all the time. Like, I've lived in so many different states. Like, everybody knows people matter.
Because whenever we look to this White House for some leadership or consolation or any semblance of steadiness, what we get instead is chaos, division, and a total and utter lack of empathy.
So let me be clear on something. He has not been a divisive president. The media has been divisive, and then he has responded in kind. I'm not saying that's always the best way to do it. I wish when the media would be divisive, actually something Michelle said, when they go low, he would go high. But he doesn't do that. But the idea that you're divisive because somebody else is divisive and you respond in kind, that's just completely and utter. She should be calling out the media here if she really cared, which it is a Democratic convention speech. It was recorded. It's written. This is not off the cuff. So this is propaganda, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that it's propaganda, because it is. She's trying to sell it, though.
That's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. The ability to walk in someone else's shoes. The recognition that's
nobody can walk in anybody else's shoes. This is one of the biggest myths about Black Lives Matter. When you have people walking in other people's shoes, it's like, if I said, well, I know what it's like to be black, people would say, no, you don't. I go, oh, well, I'm walking in their shoes. That would never fly. It would only fly for the person that's saying, hey, you think this way because you're white. If that person's not white, and even if that person's white, they can't walk in your shoes. They can't. There's too many differences. Like I said before on my other show, white is not a culture. We have a million different thoughts and ideas, just like black people do. Black people do have a culture, though. So that's why some jokes and things like that can be funny based on culture. You know, people, they use a white voice when comedians make a joke. That's because the majority of white people talk a certain way. But, you know, our culture, we just don't have much of a culture. So that's about where the extent of it is. Come on, what's going on? Let's get it going.
Someone else's experience has value too.
Of course, everybody's experience has value. Everybody's experience has value. But you cannot pander to the smallest percentage of people. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't. If I am, it wouldn't make sense for this whole country to speak Taiwanese because there's 3% Taiwanese here. It's America, so they're going to speak English because the majority of people speak English. So Doesn't mean you have to disrespect those other people, but that's just ridiculous.
Most of us practice this without a second thought. If we see someone suffering or struggling, we don't stand in judgment, we reach out.
Oh, you mean like Trump did when, what was that singer's name? I want to say Hudson. There was a singer who was on American Idol, and her parents were killed, and her family was killed. And he flew her out on his personal jet, let her stay in the Trump Towers until, you know, she got into a better spot. That is the kind of leadership that we need in America.
Because there, but for the grace of God go I. It is not a hard concept to grasp.
Nope, it's not.
It's what we teach our children.
Right, agree.
Like so many of you, Barack and I have tried our best to instill in our girls a strong moral foundation to carry forward the values that our parents and grandparents poured into us.
Absolutely.
But right now, kids in this country are seeing what happens when we stop requiring empathy of one another.
Why? No. This isn't about empathy. Trump has empathy. You want him to capitulate. You want him to do it the way that you want it done, and then you'll think that it's caring. That is not empathy. And that's not empathy on Michelle Obama's behalf. She's being judgmental, and she's making assertions that the president is this evil person because he doesn't want to accomplish it the way she wants him to accomplish it. So then she assumes he doesn't want it accomplished. He wants bad things for black people, right? She just said that he allows this country to be right. But then he was fighting to get people out of jail. Predominantly black people. Does that even make any sense? That's like the worst racist move ever. Hey, I'm a true racist. I'm going to get all these black people out of jail. What?
They're looking around wondering if we've been lying to them this whole time about who we are and what we truly value.
No, we all value that stuff. All of us.
Stores,
Democrats, Republicans.
Mask to keep us all safe. They see people calling the police on folks minding their own business just because of the color of their skin.
When? I know what she's trying to refer to. She's trying to refer to the guy in the dog park. That wasn't because of his skin. There's what? Go back and look at the guy's Facebook page, okay? And the guy talks about what he did. What he did was he was mad that the lady was walking her dog, so he told her, well, I'll take it into my own hands. And then he started luring her dog over, and she was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, don't worry about what I'm talking about. Now, if anybody out there that owns dogs was at a park and their dog was not on a leash, and I lured your dog over with a stake after telling you I'm going to do something that you're not going to like very much, you're going to try to protect your dog. He was a Karen, she was a Karen, and the two Karens had a bad situation together. Then when she got on the phone, the police always ask race, always, can you give us a description? She did try to drop that he was African-American, thinking that somehow, because I'm sure she was a liberal, so she believes that cops are racist. So she believes that the cops are going to be like, what? It's an African-American man? Woo! And then we're just going to get there real quick and put that guy in handcuffs. So she tried to use that card, but she didn't call the police because he was black. He threatened her dog. That's why she called the police, because she was a woman in a park by herself, and a man was threatening her dog. That's why. It wasn't because he was black. Her dropping that he was black was because I'm sure she was a liberal. I mean, you can look up, they took all her stuff down, but she had a bunch of liberal posts. She's an anti-Trumper. So she thought that these things were real, that the cops were just going to fly there on the fly, and that they were going to solve the problem because he was a black man. So that was her ignorance, but she didn't call the police because he was black. Michelle, stop lying.
They see an entitlement that says only certain people belong here.
No, it's not only certain people belong here. Sorry, yes, it is. Only certain people belong here. You have to be born here or go through a process to get here. It's just like if you go into to drive a car, you have to get a license. It's not like you're being judgmental for not letting a 5-year-old drive a car. Okay? If you're a neighbor, you don't get to come in my house. I'm not disrespecting you because I'm not letting you walk in my house. You just have to go through the right process. Knock on the door, and then I'll let you in. There has to be some discussion there. That is not a matter of not wanting people in, but a country has to have borders. That's ridiculous. Notice that you haven't heard Trump beating up anything about immigration. It's about illegal immigration. And actually, if he was so hateful, then why does he keep helping Mexico, which he has? Do your research. But the truth is, Michelle Obama knows this. So don't be fooled. Michelle knows this. She's pandering.
That greed is good and winning is everything, because as long
greed is good. Where do you get that from? Where? Show me a clip. Somebody send me a clip where Trump is the president of the United States saying greed is good. But yet she lives in a house that costs enough she could buy not everybody, she could buy a large portion of people in the poorest communities in DC. She could help them personally. But she's going to talk about greed. She lives in a Cape Cod. What? In DC. It's like $5-10 million home? What is she talking about?
long as you come out on top, it doesn't matter what happens to everyone else.
Nobody believes in stepping on heads to get above people. Nobody. Just because Republicans tend to be the business owners doesn't mean we want to step on people to get our way up.
And they see what happens when that lack of empathy is ginned up into outright disdain. They see our leaders labeling fellow citizens enemies of the state while emboldening torch-bearing white supremacists.
Okay, that's the Virginia, Charlottesville. That's a lie. Michelle knows it's a lie. And that's where it's just hard not to lose respect for her, because she's just lying. If you want to be political, but don't lie. He never said torch-bearing white supremacists. He literally said, I'm not talking about the white supremacists and Nazis and that kind of stuff. He said that. I mean, the fact is she doesn't want to believe that because she wants to lie. She wants to sow division. So then she's going to be a hypocrite. She's sitting there saying she doesn't want to sow division, but then she's sowing division by lying. Do you really think for 1 second that a president of the United States would say, man, white nationalist Nazis, those are good people? Of course not. Everybody knows the two people. If you don't know, then you haven't heard it yet, or you don't want to know. But he was talking about there's people that want to keep statues. I'm sorry, there's good people that don't want the Confederate flag to be banned in America because they believe it's free speech. There's people that do not want every Robert E. Lee statue removed. They don't look at it the same way you do. It doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean you're right because you don't like it and want it removed. People can be on both sides of it and be good people. Those were the people that were initially out there that he was talking about. Then there was some crazies on both sides. There was Antifa, which is proven to be crazies. I mean, heck, look at Seattle. They're burning the city down, kicking people in the face who are now on their own side. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we have to be more honest. And actually, Michelle Obama, you need to be more honest. Okay? You want to get political, that's fine. But don't go lying. You have some small black child right now watching this that believes you. They believe you, Michelle Obama. They think the president is out here supporting torch-bearing racists. You're not that stupid. You're not. And you're telling some small child this. What if they're watching you? It's just such ignorance. Do better. Be better. When they go low, you go high. Remember all that?
They watch in horror as children are torn from their families and thrown into cages, and pepper spray and rubber bullets are used on peaceful protesters for.
Notice how she ran them two things together because they're both bogus. Okay. First of all, they're not rubber bulleting and pepper spraying people like off the break, peaceful protesters. Like, that's just nonsense. Go peacefully protest somewhere and see if that happens to you. It won't. It won't. Heck, those guys went down to Stony Mountain in Georgia with guns. Did they get pepper sprayed? They get ran out of town? No, they didn't. You know why? Because as long as you follow the laws, then you're good. You're good. So just stop that narrative. And she tried to run it in with the kids on the border, ignoring the fact that her husband was the one that built the cages. And actually, let me point this out. What Trump did to stop having so many kids at the border like that. People were coming in, right? They were sneaking in the country, getting caught, claiming asylum. Now, if you do that and you're coming through the Mexican border and you're not Mexican, you have to go back. You get turned over to the Mexican government. So if you're from El Salvador, Guatemala, whatever the case may be, those people have to claim asylum in the first country they get to where they're safe. We all know they weren't trying to get to America to claim asylum. They were just trying to get into America because it's the greatest nation on earth. Which, hey, I have friends that are illegal aliens that got here and they're trying to do things the right way. And Trump has given DACA options where he's going to allow more people, way more than Barack Obama did. Obama was the deporter in chief. He just couldn't solve the problem. So his answer was just send them back and then have them come back. Send them back, have them come back. Your husband failed at this terribly. Trump has came up with solutions, and it's going to take a longer process because Congress refuses to care about DACA. If they did, this problem would already be solved. Trying to win a political war instead of taking care of our nation's borders. That's on your husband, and that's on the Democrats in Congress. And to be fair, it's on the Republicans up until Trump got into the Republicans were just equally failures on that going all the way back, including Reagan, both Bushes. It's all been trash.
Photo op. Sadly, this is the America that is on display for the next generation. A nation that's underperforming not simply on matters of policy, but on matters of character. And that's not just disappointing, it's downright infuriating. Because I know the goodness and the grace that is out there in households and neighborhoods all across this nation. Mm-hmm. And I know that regardless of our race, age, religion, or politics, when we close out the noise and the fear and truly open our...
How are you going to say close out the fear when you were just propagating all that fear? It's almost like listening to somebody that's bipolar. What are you doing, Michelle?
Hearts, we know that what's going on in this country is just not right. This is not who we want to be.
Well, then don't be that way. It's very simple. It is not coming from the president. It's not. It's coming from the hate for the president. The president has specific policies designed to help the African-American community. He has policies designed to build up the inner cities. He has all these policies designed to help people get the cheapest health care, to have prescription costs be low, to make sure stuff's built in America, to build the economy. All those things are good for all Americans. But the politics of it, they don't like it. Just remember this, people. Remember that before Trump was president, Republicans were against gay marriage. Now, Trump is for it. But before Trump got into office, Republicans were pro-war. Trump is not. Before, Republicans were anti-tariff, or Democrats were pro-tariff. Now they're not. Before, Democrats said that the U.S., Obama specifically said the U.S. Postal Service was a train wreck. And many said that it should be privatized. Now, he says that. They say he doesn't. They say it shouldn't. Obama himself defunded parts of the U.S. Postal Service in 2014, which was an election year. But you never heard any calls for Obama and how, he was messing with the election. But they say that now. So Trump is a center candidate. He is, by all measures. But they want to lie to you.
So what do we do now? What's our strategy? Over the past 4 years, a lot of people have asked me, when others are going so low, does going high still really work?
She just didn't. After going low, most of this video, let's see.
My answer, going high is the only thing that works.
I agree.
Because when we go low, when we use those same tactics of degrading and dehumanizing others, we just become part of the ugly noise that's drowning out everything else.
I agree.
We degrade ourselves. We degrade the very causes for which we fight.
Yep.
But let's be clear. Going high does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. Going high means taking the harder path. It means scraping and clawing our way to that mountaintop. Going high means standing fierce against hatred.
Everybody stands against hatred. Like, what is she talking about? I mean, I understand, you know, she's giving the old Rocky speech, get to the top of the mountain, climb, the choo-choo train story, you know, keep trucking, you know, fight for what's right. It's like, well, okay, so what are you talking about exactly?
While remembering that we are one nation under God. And if we want to survive,
of course,
we've got to find a way to live together and work together.
We
across
do.
our differences. And going high means unlocking the shackles of lies and mistrust with the only thing that can truly set us free, the cold, hard truth.
Which is exactly why I'm doing this video. So thank you, Michelle. I totally agree with you there.
So let me be as honest and clear as I possibly can. Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is. Now, I understand that my message won't be heard by some people. We live in a nation that is deeply divided, and I am a Black woman speaking at the care about this nation. You know how much I care about all of our children.
I do believe she cares.
So if
maybe
you
she
take
just
one
doesn't know.
thing from my words tonight, it is this. If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election. He was a terrific vice president. He knows what it takes to, when he was a kid, Joe's father lost his job.
Now she goes into Joe Biden stuff.
So
this is what she should have been talking about
parents.
before. She had
Joe
to fear
knows
everybody
what it's
first.
like to struggle, which is why he gives his personal phone number
Joe
to
was in
kids
Congress.
overcoming a stutter.
Joe Biden gives his number to kids. That might be part of Joe Biden's problem. But, like, really, he gives numbers to kids who stutter. How many kids stutter in the United States? You think he's really giving his number out to all these kids? Like, first of all, that's just weird. Don't give your number to kids. That's not what you should do. And you're not going to convince me after 40 years in Congress, 44, I think, that this dude knows struggle. Like, yes, there's certain struggles that you all go through. So let me take that back a little bit. Let me walk that back a little bit. He doesn't know the struggle of a poor person in America. That struggle, nah. Because his dad lost his job once? Whose parent hasn't lost a job? Like, how entitled are you to think that that's the end-all, be-all? Let's go. We're going to get through this.
Of their own. The candidate, no perfect president.
That's true.
And his ability to learn, and he has never lost sight of who we are. All of us.
Biden's never lost sight of that.
Joe
How about
Biden
when he put a bunch of people in jail under the
wants our kids
three-strike
to go
rule?
to a good school, see a doctor when they're sick.
No, he doesn't. He's not even for allowing kids to pick their own schools. So he's definitely not for that. Pick your own doctor. Obamacare took that away. So you can't do that.
Live on a healthy planet. And he's got plans to make all of that happen.
Plans that he didn't institute for 8 years while he was the second most powerful man in the world.
Joe Biden wants all of our kids, no matter what they look like, to be able to walk out the door without worrying about being harassed or arrested or killed.
Well, first of all, if you don't want to be arrested, don't break laws. Okay? Nobody is in favor of having kids just walk out of the house, get arrested, and get killed. Nobody's in support of that. Joe Biden's policies actually encourage that. And she knows that. Like, I just can't give Michelle Obama a pass. She's lying.
He wants all of our kids to be able to go to a movie or a math class without being afraid of getting shot.
What? Who here knows somebody's been killed in a movie theater? The only time I can think of it, there was one, random shooter. Wasn't Obama the president then? What is she talking about? You should have looked across the dinner table and been like, honey, take care of this. You didn't, because he didn't want to.
Chance to pursue any of these goals, intimidate voters, and they're lying about the security of our ballots.
No, we're not lying. About 20% of mail-in ballots get thrown in the trash. And those are absentee ballots that you're allowed to do. But that's because a lot of them get filled out incorrectly. People get filed when they're dead. Those get trashed. But people spell their name wrong and those get trashed. That's not going to be voter suppression the minute Donald Trump wins. Yeah, right. The Democrats are just setting up their backup plan for if Trump doesn't get elected.
Things are not new. And hope for Joe Biden. We've got to vote early, in person if we can.
And often.
We've got to request our mail-in ballots right now, tonight, and send them back immediately. And follow up to make sure they're received. And then make sure our friends and families do the same.
Because God forbid you go to the...
grab our comfortable shoes, put on our masks, pack a brown bag dinner, and maybe breakfast too. Because we've got to be willing to stand in line all night if we have to.
I thought she just said to have everybody mail them in. You trying to vote twice? Come on, Michelle.
Look, we have already sacrificed.
I do got to tell you this, though. This is Jive Slick, and I just noticed. Her necklace says vote.
So many of you are already going that extra mile. Can keep moving forward. And when the horrors of systemic racism shook our country and our consciences. Systemic
racism. Your husband was in office for 8 years. What did he do to stem the systemic racism? What? You wanted Trump to take care of it in 3 years and deal with the pandemic, but somehow your husband didn't do anything for 8 years. And now the vice president, who was the vice president for 8 years then, now he's going to do it starting tomorrow? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Compassionate, resilient.
Try to draw them tears out. Come on.
Whose fortunes are bound up with one another. And it is well past time for our leaders to once again reflect our truth. So,
no, the truth, not your truth, the truth.
To add our voices, but doing, not just for ourselves.
All right, that's it. That's all I got for you today. Look, I hope everybody does take a look at this video. Follow this video. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description below. It's just frustrating. It really is because, I do have respect for her. I think she was a good first lady. I do. I don't understand why. I don't understand why people have to lie. And it's the same people saying that it's just the same people saying that. Why is this doing this? Sorry. This is usually temporary. Wait a moment and then try again. Okay. It's the same people that say don't lie. The first thing you got to do is watch how they lie. Then you got to hold them to task for it. I mean, you really do. It's very frustrating, but I appreciate y'all. I know it took about an hour. Gosh, dang, I got to get better at doing this. I'll get better, but I just want to point out the lies. And it sucks because Michelle Obama is respected by a lot of people. And, you know, I just wish she would have been honest. And when I first listened to it, I was just shocked at how many times she lied. But all right, everybody, have a good day. Have a good night. Peace. And I'm out of here.